Hello, 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 and welcome to a holiday version of the Big Freaking Friday show on the College Football Mafia Network. And look at that, Greg the Cooler is in the house. So if you're a fan of any of the teams playing this weekend, watch out. Make sure he doesn't pick your team. We'll have to see how that works. But welcome to everybody here early on a Friday. We want to get this show in. Greg's going to peel off a little bit early to get ready for his watch party. And we'll let you talk about that here in just a second, Greg. Tell everybody what you're doing. And then Wild Ute will be joining us as soon as he possibly can. We had to do this early because we have this game tonight. And I've got tinglies on the back of my arms, looking forward to something that I've wanted since, probably 30 years or more, which is a playoff that brings in teams that are more than just, from the SEC and Big Ten for the most part for the last, several decades. So I'm looking forward to that. Moen, how are we doing tonight?
I am good. I am feeling better. I haven't completely recovered, but I've recovered enough to be here. I will not be at the game tomorrow, though, unfortunately, but I will be pulling for Ohio State from my living.
And Greg, let's see. You're a Big Ten guy, but you're not so much into your front runner type status.
I'm not a Big Ten guy. I'm not a Big Ten guy.
You're a Minnesota Golden Gopher. That's
the
Big
Big
Ten
Ten
guy.
is just as evil as the BYU Cougars. No,
okay.
No, not a Big Ten guy. I'm a Minnesota Golden Gopher.
There we go. I like that a lot.
I'm all jacked up.
We're excited to have you with us tonight. I appreciate you taking some time as we review the games going into this weekend. What jumps out at you is the preparation for these games came up in the last 2 weeks. Anything stand out on how you anticipate these games going?
I think we have more. I think we even have more drama than I anticipated.
Okay.
The Texas Clemson game, for example, this Quinn Ewers situation, right?
Yeah, that's true.
It's like if he struggles, how injured is he? How hurt is he? Is he injured? Is he hurt? You got Manning sitting back there. You've got all this drama in the background. Is Quinn Ewers actually going to declare for the NFL draft, or is he going to transfer? Or is he, because he ain't going to be the quarterback QB1 at Texas? And then Clemson, Phil Maffa, the great running back, has a shoulder problem. It's going to need surgery. Their backup running back is out. I don't know. There's a lot of drama in that game. So that's interesting. All these games have some sort of outside, besides the game itself, some outside drama going on. Ryan Day, right? Ohio State. Indiana, Notre Dame game tonight is just unbelievable if you think about it. Indiana, for the last, 5, 6, 7 decades, right? hasn't been a part of any college football relevancy when it comes to the national championship.
Right.
Here they are. Cignetti declares that, Google me, that whole thing. They get Curtis Rourke, a great quarterback from Ohio Bobcats. They're in the playoff. They get into the playoffs. Indiana Hoosiers are in the playoffs. That means crazy. Anybody can make it.
Yeah.
Right? So next year, dream on, because if Indiana can get there, anybody can get there. And then you got Notre Dame who's trying to flip the narrative that they can win a game, a big game, right?
It's been 30 years since they have.
Yeah. And now they got a home playoff game, and maybe they can use their outside weather advantage, but no, they're playing a team in their own state.
Yep.
Which adds on to the pressure of Notre Dame. And it's just every game seems to have a little bit more magic to it than I expected.
What's the number? What do you guys think the viewership is going to be for this game tonight? It's a Friday night. It's going into a long holiday week for Christmas.
6 million.
6 million.
I'm going higher. But then again, it all depends if it's a competitive game, which I think it will be. So I think, boy, it's tough. I'm going to go 9 million because it's a Friday night.
I'm gonna be much higher than 6 as well. I was gonna say +8, but it's got Notre Dame, right? And that name still has cachet. There's a lot of people watch their games to watch them lose. So um,
Yep.
Indiana obviously isn't the draw. It would have been nice. Could you imagine a USC Notre Dame part two? And
Yeah.
what that viewership would be. So Indiana's going to bring the number down, but it's still Notre Dame, and they're playing at home. So I my guess is +8, but I don't know. This is unknown territory. We don't
Yeah.
done this before.
Yep. Yeah. We're in uncharted waters. I think, and again, me and Nathan were talking before we came on about how even the how successful these first round games are in regards to the home games on campus. Is there electricity? Is there are people buying into this? Is
Right.
this something special? And if the consensus is coming out of these first round games that this worked great, maybe that will affect the future of the college football playoffs and how it's formatted next year or 2026.
And you could flip that around. If the numbers are depressed, maybe
Mhm.
they make different changes, right? Maybe
Yep,
they do
yep,
something
yep.
different completely. But I agree with you 100%. I think it's going to be sort of we'll have to see what the numbers are next week. On top of all the games on Saturday, which are going to be head to head with NFL, which if you think about that, that's Goliath and David, if there's ever been one.
Yeah.
This is the argument's going to be maybe coming out of this weekend is which trumps playoff relevancy for the NFL or the passion of college football, right? Because that's always been that's an undying chord that we've heard throughout since I've been alive, which is really the thing people care about more, the professionalism and the absolute athletic ability of the NFL or the passion of the college game, and which one's going to show out more. You're not going to be much more head to head than you can get on this show tomorrow on Saturday, right? Moen, no thoughts
Listen,
on that?
I it's going to be next to impossible to go up against the NFL. They've got to
Yeah.
fix it. They got to fix it, especially this time of year for the NFL. So many games have playoff relevancy for the NFL. You got teams still playing; they're still in the hunt. They're gonna have to change it. The only game I think might do well tomorrow is going to be the Ohio State Tennessee game.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest. That has the biggest names on the marquee for sure. Yeah. Obviously Ohio State, but Tennessee, they're as close to a blue blood as you could get for somebody that's been historically good over the, past 70, 80 years. So that's really the banner game going into this weekend, don't you guys think?
Yeah, and then Texas and Clemson after that, and then Penn State, SMU will probably get the lowest ratings.
Yeah, I think so. And we're going to go through these games one at a time, but each one of them has their own nuance to it. Go ahead, Mo.
Yeah, and keep in mind that those two games, Clemson, Texas, and SMU, Penn State, are going to be on TNT.
Yep.
They are not going to be on ABC like tonight's game and tomorrow night's
Yep.
game. So,
and where do we think that ends up? How many people will tune into TNT TBS?
well, it's not going to be on CBS. It's on TNT.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
not going to be OTA. You're either going to have TNT on a cable package,
right,
or have access to HBO Max.
If you have Max, you can get it too.
You can stream it through Max.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting. Obviously, there was reasons why they bifurcated and separated some of those games off. TNT stepping up. They want to be a player in college football, I think. Don't you guys agree?
Yeah. They're going to have some of the playoff games going forward. They have a deal with the Big 12 going forward. So yeah, they want some of that college football space.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, well, let's just get this thing started then. I want to welcome everybody to another edition of the Big Freaking Friday Show on the College Football Mafia Network. I'm your host, Nathan Balmer Brown. That is my co-host and partner in crime. That would be Moen. And, of course, we have our guest analyst and picker and just all-around great guy. That would be Greg Pflugar joining us from Peek Around the Corner. Greg, tell everybody kind of what your weekend's going to look like for college football coverage.
Well, tonight we're going to be doing a watch party. Indiana, Notre Dame. It's just going to be fantastic. I'm all jacked up. And then tomorrow, don't quite have the schedule all worked out, but we're going to be on the air for most of the day.
Okay.
We're definitely going to be doing Clemson in Texas. Definitely doing Ohio State, Tennessee. Might have to come in halftime of the Penn State SMU game because I'm busy in the morning. But so it's going to be a busy week. So if you got an opportunity, hop on in to the chat room, put down your thoughts in real time and what's going on with these games. And then, of course, we're going to have post-game phone calls for people to cry or celebrate after the games.
If you haven't watched one of Greg's shows, they are fantastic. The watch parties, I think I've seen 3 or 4 of them. And besides just Greg being as entertaining as he is, I think the idea that you're getting real-time feedback from people watching is really cool, right? That's a newer technology ability for fans to get involved as these games are unfolding, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Not a whole lot of people hop in, but we've gotten some decent crowds once, especially at the end of the game if it's a close game, it's real dramatic. And if there's a big upset or whatever, we have a post-game phone calls and people are calling in and pretty emotional at times. I remember last year when Clemson lost to Duke, man, we had some South Carolina people call in. I've never seen them before. I've never seen them since. they were all excited. And it's a pretty fun time. So come join us at Peek Around the Corner when if you get a chance.
Well, before you sign off later in just a few minutes, make sure you post the link so everybody can put that in the comment section so people right after our show's over can get right over to you. You don't want to miss a beat there. I want to invite everybody to follow all 3 of us on Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube, not only to this channel, but also to Peek Around the Corner on YouTube. Look up Greg's show and subscribe there. And make sure you turn on your notifications so you know when he's on, when we're on. And then you can see our tweets. And as we continue to cover all the news that is, and I don't even want to jump into any of the news because I just want to focus on these playoff games. But NIL and the transfer portal has changed everything. And this is something I want to touch on before we get to the games. It's really, really important. And I think it's going to be an ongoing conversation is the date for this transfer portal opening is absolutely, not only is it decimating teams as they prepare to potentially be in bowl games, but it's really changing the way things move when it comes to whether players are compensated or not. And if they're going to play in these playoff games. Now, we've heard rumors and we've seen some reporting that says these players are getting subsidies just for the games that they might play in a playoff situation. Greg, have you got any more reporting on anything like that regarding players getting bonuses to be in these playoff games and bowls even?
Yes. And actually this happened last year, last couple of years. People were getting bonuses just to play in a bowl game, not even in the playoffs. I don't know if you guys probably don't remember, but a couple of years ago, Gophers were in a bowl game. I don't remember who they were playing. And we had a quarterback named Cole Kramer.
Okay.
We didn't have any more quarterbacks on our team. And I think we paid him like somebody paid, whatever, NIL. Paid him $50,000. And remember when in the bowl game, they kept talking about how he was going to get married and they had to push off their wedding or something, him and his fiance, but the $50,000 or whatever would go to the wedding. And honeymoon, whatever. So this was already being done before.
Okay.
at a small, small bowl game. So
Right.
yeah, it's going to happen now. Again, I don't have the answer to the portal problem. I think that is a very difficult situation because we're dealing with semesters here.
Yeah.
The student athletes want to get to their school in January. I don't know how to solve all that unless you move the season at the beginning of August and make sure it ends January 1st. But all the other issues can be solved, with collective bargaining, right?
Right. Which we
So,
don't have right now.
which we don't have. So I don't know how you solve all this stuff.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an ongoing challenge. Bob Thompson, obviously, that's his bailiwick, and he did propose moving into the week 0, week -1, going a couple more weeks into August to open up more calendar time in December at the end of the season. But I don't think there is an easy fix. I think there's going to be a fix that they're just going to have to make a decision, and the schools are going to have to work around the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe some schools won't do it. Like BYU has generally been pretty flexible because of all the international students they bring in. They do all kinds of things with their schedules to work in sort of unique learning timetables. I'm not sure how flexible a school, like a Minnesota could be, being a state institution, how much they'd be able to sort of jigger their timelines to let students maybe come in a couple weeks after a term has started, for instance, to allow a first or second week in January window. But honestly, how many teams, what's to stop them from just backing it up to the week after the second round of the playoff games? Right? Because how many teams then are involved? You have 90% of the bowl games would be done at that point. I don't know why they just move it and don't tag it to the end of December, first week of January, because I don't know any schools that start until maybe the 17th of January, these terms. I don't know. I think there has to be a solution.
I don't have one. I don't
Okay.
know.
All right. Well, we'll
I-
certainly be
yeah.
covering in the off season.
Yeah.
They're getting so many complaints now. It's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Another news item I want to touch on before we get to the picks and the previews. This Jake Dickert move from Washington State to Wake Forest is fascinating because on face value, those two schools are fairly well equals. They represent generally the same value in brand strength. Washington State, I think, is quite a bit higher than Wake Forest, just from a perception standpoint. But this idea that these two years ago were peers at the P4, P5 level now, and now there's this disparity. But Washington State was going to pay Dickert to stick around. They were offering him a big raise, and they were going to fund the program a little bit at higher levels. I don't know there was ever a chance they were going to keep Mateer around, but this move has fascinated me, not because it's not a just shut the door, turn off the phone, and get to the jet, right, which is generally we're now used to. But I do think that it was extraordinary in the fact that you're jumping from relative equals. Is it just the power conference access, you guys? What do you think about that, Moen? I can understand the
Well,
frustrations at the
yes, they're
fans
not
level, but
they're not equals.
okay.
They're not equals. Wake Forest is a better job than Washington State. And I know that's going to upset some Washington State fans, but that is a G6 conference, and they have completely Munsoned the way they put that conference together to where they are still trying to find the 8th football member.
Right.
So, I mean, here is a conference with stability issues, lawsuits out the rear end. You've got 2 West Coast conferences now, which makes no sense. It's just ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, I don't blame him for going to Wake Forest. It's a better recruiting area. You get a recruit North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina into Georgia, better weather. And it's it's an A4 school, and Washington State just isn't.
Yeah, but Boise State just qualified at the G5 and got a bye. They came in as the number 3 seed. So does the conference outside of just getting additional money really matter? because they essentially have the same access now. In fact, I would say Wake Forest's path forward is much more difficult.
I would say that might be a little disingenuous based on the fact that the AAC is still out there. You've still got other G5 brands. You're only probably going to get one G5 school in
Right.
every playoff run.
Right.
So there are 6 conferences they have to compete against.
Okay. And what do you think, Greg? Big picture. How do you look at
Yeah, I agree with Moen. I don't think they're equal jobs anymore. Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to equate how good a job is to how easy or difficult it is to get to the playoffs either. I don't think that's a direct correlation either. Washington State, it's a tough situation. They screwed up the creation of their conference.
Yes, they did.
And there's just too many unknowns, and plus maybe the coach obviously he knows the situation more than we do. Maybe it's even more difficult than we believe it is.
You think there might be some inside baseball we don't know?
Yeah, maybe it's even more tenuous. Maybe it's even more like the media deal, and who knows? But yeah, and then we're talking about recruiting area going to Wake Forest.
I wouldn't compare those. I think the Wake Forest recruiting area is much better.
Yeah, and then you got to think of like this, what I would call like the secondary recruiting wave. Like, no, it's not just about high school, right? Now it's about the portal and everything, getting people having that spot where you could possibly get somebody in the portal, who didn't work out at North Carolina State, who didn't work out at Duke, who didn't work, you know what I'm saying? That secondary market of players, and you can kind of develop them your own way. And so I think Wake Forest also has a better positioning. So yeah, it's a tough spot. Wake Forest is in a very tough spot.
Okay. I think it's something that's going to be fascinating as the years progress. I know what you guys are saying about playoff access. I don't know that I totally agree with the fact. I don't necessarily disagree, but I think having that playoff access and being in a league that every year is going to have at least one or two top teams. Washington State and Oregon State would have been their representatives this year. And they're going to be competitive. Now, whether they can win a game is a different conversation. But if your goal is just to get to the CFP, I don't necessarily agree that that it means that it's just a better job outright because they're in a P4 league. I understand this stuff you guys are talking about, but I would just caution people, this is the first year of the playoff. We'll have to see. We might find out how valuable that G5 spot G6 spot actually is. And maybe these jobs that people they're nose down right now might decide, hey, maybe it's not so far. What happens if UNLV goes undefeated next year? Now all of a sudden you've got a top 12 media market, maybe it's top 15 media market with all kinds of money that have nothing to do with their media valuation, but it gives them a direct line access to get to the playoff. I don't know. I'm just open-minded to it, I guess is all I'm saying.
You're making good points. A lot of these coaches, they're always wondering, what can I do if I had just a little bit more resources and a little bit more better recruiting ground, a little bit better location? What could I do if I had a little bit more money to spend on my staff? So I could have gotten this guy, but I had to settle for this guy.
Right.
So that's how these coaches think. And so he's probably, okay, I'm going to probably have this salary pool at Washington State, this type of salary pool at Wake Forest, and it's probably going to be a little bit larger at Wake Forest.
Oh, sure.
And they'll be able to pay the bills easy. So that's what these coaches are really striving for. And of course, maybe he wants, maybe Wake Forest isn't his end point, right?
Right. He's a stepping stone. Sure.
Maybe it's a better launch to go, and then you always have the posse coming at you, right? So if he has a tough first or second year at Wake Forest, he's probably not going to get fired. He'll probably get a year 3. But at Washington State, just lost material. You know what I'm saying? The posse's always around. So you want to move before the posse gets you in.
It'll be fascinating if Washington State makes the CFP and he goes 4-8, 5-7, 5-7 at Wake Forest.
Yeah.
He might be able to say, look at my checking account. He might be able to say, I've got deeper entrenched roots in the coaching ranks. And I could maybe get a better job. But if he goes sub 500 3 seasons in a row at Wake Forest, how many people are going to be saying he's the next great college coach that's going to get a call up to a Wisconsin or a Mississippi State? I don't. So we'll have to see. It's not like the ACC is the SEC and the Big Ten now. They are a jump up, but anyways, we'll have to see. Great conversation pieces. There's other stuff we're going to cover in the coming weeks, but tonight we're going to talk college football playoffs. So I appreciate you being here, Greg. I know we've got you only for a short amount of time, so let's bring up Moen, who's able to throw his fantastic graphics up, and I appreciate him doing this for us. As a team, we picked who's going to win these games. And Moen, I'm going to turn this over to you, and let's go through these with Greg here.
Well, we might as well start with the game of the evening. Indiana goes to South Bend. It snowed a little bit in South Bend this morning. It was a little bit snowy, but I understand a lot of it is melted off. Indiana going to play Notre Dame. Spread on this is 7.5 points.
Yeah, I think that's a lot.
A touchdown plus. Indiana, outside of the Ohio State game, has dominated their opponents. Now you can make the argument they've had some pretty weak opponents, but by the same token, Notre Dame had a weak opponent that they couldn't beat. So I don't want to say. I know a lot of people are saying Indiana doesn't have a chance in this game. Indiana
That's not what
has.
I said. I took Indiana.
I know. I'm just telling you what a lot of pundits are saying.
Okay.
They're saying Indiana doesn't have a chance to win. I think Indiana does have a chance to win. In fact, I took Indiana on the money line.
Yeah. I don't think I can add any more. I wish Ute will be here a little bit later. We started an hour earlier today to get in front of this first playoff game. So I apologize that Ute's not here to review these with all 4 of us. But I think Indiana, that 7.5 points just is too much. And I think Notre Dame has been Jekyll and Hyde when it comes to these playoff games. And they haven't won one since '88. So I will be a little bit surprised if they beat them by more than a touchdown. Greg, defend Notre Dame.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and straddle that fence.
Okay.
I've got Notre Dame covering, but I think Indiana can win the game. That most definitely. Notre Dame's running game is outstanding. Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price have had incredible seasons. They both rush over 7 yards per rush. Unbelievable. Riley Leonard, again on the ground, has been fantastic. He seems to be healthy going in the playoffs. Their wide receiver room's a little bit better than it has been over the years. They've got a great defense, even though they're without Benjamin Morrison. But Indiana, I think Indiana is absolutely 100% legit. I think Curtis Rourke is an outstanding quarterback. He's going to get drafted pretty high. And they've got Elijah Surratt, number 13. When you watch him on your screen tonight, he's going to make a couple of big plays. They've got Miles Price and Miles Cross and Keyshawn Williams. Curtis Rourke just throws it to all types of targets. They've got a pretty good tight end. So I think Indiana's going to be in it all the way. Now, Indiana is the number 1 team in the country against the rush. They only give up about 70 yards per game on the ground, and yet Notre Dame has this incredible running game, so something's got to give there. I just think Notre Dame's probably going to beat them up at the end a little bit. Indiana's got a great defensive tackle, number 8, CJ West. that he's probably going to be making plays tonight. I've got Notre Dame, but man, I think Indiana's got a shot. Absolutely.
When Ute gets here, I know he goes into the analytics, and he's going to be able to tell us exactly why he thinks Notre Dame's more than a 7.5, so an 8-point leader. The one question I would have, and this is the thing that's been kicking around about this game. For one thing, I think this is the most balanced game of all 4 of these weekend's games. In my opinion, this is the one that could go either way. Do we look at Indiana as purely spoiler, or is they have enough in the tank that they could actually win a game and make the playoff a true competition?
I think they're legit. I think they're 100% legit. I think if they win this game, they're going against Georgia. Georgia's going to have a lot to worry about because Indiana's going to have a huge advantage at quarterback. Yeah, I think they're legit. Now, I think Notre Dame's going to win this at the end, but Indiana is a legit. They're a very good football team.
All right, very good.
Moen, what do you think, man?
Listen, I got Indiana on the money line. I'll put my money where my mouth is. I think Indiana wins this game. I think Indiana wins by a touchdown. I think the streak continues for the poor Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They again lose a big game in the postseason. Congratulations to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish on losing another game.
So we're going to call that participation trophy for Notre Dame. That's what we're saying. I think Indiana can win this game, and the weather is a great equalizer. So if there is snow on the ground, I think it even brings in Indiana's ground game a little bit more. And they can maybe control the clock. We'll have to see. Notre Dame might come out and bust the brakes off them. Just run them off the field, and it's over at halftime. I could also see that outcome, but I'm really looking forward to this one. All right, let's get to the next one. The next 3 are all tomorrow. Yes, they are head-to-head with the NFL. If we have time, a few minutes before, once the picks are done, we could talk about those windows with Greg here. We'll try to get to that as well. But really quick, so SMU, Penn State, I took SMU again on the 8.5 points. I think Penn State, James Franklin is a lot like, we get no respect, but he hasn't been able to earn respect by winning, again, a big game. I put them in the same realm as Notre Dame in this regard. And the chance that they're able to come in and really put the wood to SMU, I just wouldn't. 8.5's a lot of points. Now, weather, temperature obviously defers to Penn State, but I think SMU actually has a chance here. They're so athletic and their defense is extremely quick.
Not so fast, Bomber. Not so fast.
Okay.
James Franklin, if Ute was here, Wild Ute could tell you, James Franklin won a Rose Bowl just a few years ago.
Yeah.
He has won big games. It's the games against Ohio State he can't win.
Okay.
He has won big games. He's won bowl games at Penn State. This is going to be a whiteout. This is a noon whiteout. Unfortunately, I'd rather this.
Wish it was a night game.
I wish this was the night game and Ohio State played at noon. But I think Penn State's going to come out there and they're going to roll them. This could get ugly quick.
Okay.
Ugly quick. Because I'm telling you right now, those SMU receivers, they lay out for the ball. They go up for the ball. Here's something you learn playing in winter weather. It hurts when you hit the cold, cold ground. There is no bounce to it. It hurts.
They're on grass there, right?
It still hurts. Cold grass.
No. I'm not. Painful. I was just speaking. Is it grass? Yeah.
Not as bad as cold turf, but it is still not very pleasant feeling to lay out for a pass and land on it.
All right, Greg.
I think the SMU football players are going to be thinking about this game for the rest of their lives. They're going to get shook when they no disrespect to the SMU or the ACC schools and SMU played BYU and all this, but that environment up there in Happy Valley, when it's 30 degrees, when it's a whiteout, when you got 106,000 crazy people And of course that turf ain't what Mullen just said. That turf ain't going to feel very good. I think SMU is going to get rolled. Now, I will say this: Kevin Jennings is a really good quarterback. Now, if he's a great quarterback, right? If he is great, if we see greatness tomorrow, then SMU, of course, has got a shot. But I think this is the one game we're going to know real early. I think Moen hinted towards that. I think we're going to know real quick if SMU just is like in that environment, it's just shook. I think we're going to know it, and the game's going to be over real quick. But if Jennings makes some big plays, maybe they can stick for a while. But I got Penn State easily covering that spread.
SMU would need plus what in the turnover margin to even make this a game to the second half? Not even win, but to even keep it competitive. +3?
Sure. Yeah.
I think that sounds right to me. I could see that. Moen, you think?
Yeah, the quarterback from SMU, he has not played anybody the caliber of Abdul Carter from Penn State.
Yeah.
That guy's a disruptor. He's going to get in there. He's not going to have the kind of time he had against Clemson to throw the ball out there. So like I said, if the turnover margin, I think the turnover margin is probably going to favor Penn State. So I don't think it'll ever get to +2 for SMU.
All right. Okay. I like that. Straight shooters. That's what you get around here. Let's talk about Texas Clemson. This game, I think, could be sneaky good. It's in the mid-afternoon slot, so the early evening back east. And it is in Austin. So, Greg, really quick, tell us 11.5 points. That's a lot of points.
Yeah, I think Nathan and I were talking about this earlier. This game has so much drama in it. It's just unbelievable. It's Quinn. Start with Quinn Ewers for a moment. He's definitely hurt. I don't know if he's injured. He's definitely hurt.
Right.
And it might not be just physical. It might be psychological, emotional, spiritual for all I know. Something is up with that. You got all these rumors. You got Mel Kiper just coming out saying he can't go in the NFL draft. He's going to have to come back for another year. If he comes back for another year, it's not going to be at Texas. He's going to have to go in the portal. So here's a guy who's struggling. The offense is struggling. The running game is struggling. The defense is outstanding. I mean, Texas makes every open field tackle look like it's easy. Their defense has been spectacular this year. But the offense is struggling. And then you got Clemson, who Phil Maffa, his shoulder, they're going to need surgery after the playoffs is over. I love Phil Maffa. I've talked about him for 3 years. They used to not give him the rock enough. Now they finally give him the rock, and he's got an injury. The backup running back is out. He's had surgery. They've got some freshman third stringer. You got Klubnik finally playing the way that everyone thought he was going to play coming out of high school. I've got Clemson covering. But I'm telling you, if it's the middle of the second quarter and Texas offense is struggling again, my question to Mo and Vision, do they put Arch Manning in, or do they ride Quinn Ewers until the wheels fall off in the end of the third, start of the fourth quarter?
They're going to put Arch Manning in. They're not going to have a choice. Sark's not going to have a choice. Ewers is probably not going to be at Texas next year. He's going to transfer out. I don't know where he's going to land. He is not going to be highly recruited by the NFL right now. He definitely needs another year to develop. Arch Manning's the heir apparent. You can't sign Arch Manning to your squad and then have him not be ready to go out there and play. And I mean, he's done cleanup duty a couple times. He's been in there a couple times when Ewers was hurt. He's shown himself to be a pretty admirable quarterback. So I don't think you can keep, if it's getting away from him, I think they probably pull Ewers and put Arch Manning in.
Yeah, I think that I 100% agree. In fact, I would question even starting Ewers if he's hurt at all, because they've struggled down the stretch here with offense. So Everything Greg points out, all the detail with the running backs and everything else, I think they can ride the defense. There's no doubt about it. And Clemson has struggled at times to score points. But if it's a shootout, yeah, I don't know that Ewers keeps him up. Now, Manning, boy, he has that all potential, that P word. He just needs an opportunity, and this might be the game where he steps out. We'll have to see how Ewers does coming out the gate.
Yeah.
Before we get to our last pick, I want to get to a couple super chats so we don't lose these. To start off the show, Sergeant Pickles, one of our contributors and a valued member of the posse around here. Thank you so much for being here, Pickles, tonight. Happy holidays. Playoff we always wanted is finally here. Go Hoosiers and go Dogs. All right, so Georgia, and Indiana. We'll have to see that works out. Great to see you here, Pickles. Do you want to give him a quick sounder there, Moen?
Yeah, I don't think that was the Dogs he was talking about.
He's talking about the Washington.
Washington, that's obviously perfect because that's his team. But yeah, that's definitely something that I wish Washington next year. We'll have to see how Washington does. Their road trips next year are not any easier than they were this year. And then last but not least, the Stormy Cyclone, another $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Stormy. We love having you around here. An OG at this point. That $5 does a lot for us. We thank you for it. And thanks for being a member around here. That leadership really helps us and continues to grow the channel. So thanks for being here tonight. Merry Christmas to all in this CFP and bowl season. So thank you, Stormy. Thanks for the $5 super chat. We really appreciate it.
You guys know what happens when you play ho 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 backwards, right?
I do.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
All right. We were able to get you in, Ute. Good to see you.
I am so happy to be in here tonight. It's a big night for college football. Godfather's in the house. Godfather, we haven't even talked about the valuations. You know what I'm talking about, the valuations that came out yesterday. Holy smokes.
Well, I got about 3 more minutes left, and then I got to go. So we're going to have to do it next week.
We'll have to do it next week.
Yeah.
All right. That sounds good. We'll put that on the checklist. Really quick, let's get this last picks in. Tennessee at Ohio State. Again, weather, cold. It's Ohio State. And I think Ohio State easily covers. In my opinion, this could be double digits. Your last one in the door. What do you think about this game?
Ohio State all the way. Cold weather environment. I'm taking all these teams. I don't care if it's 100 points or not. Give me the cold weather teams all the time. Look at the NFL for the model. Ohio State wins this game big. I think Tennessee's overrated anyway. So Ohio State gets this done. And Ohio State makes a run. I think they're going to make a run here to the very end. They could actually win the national championship. I think they're that good still.
All right, Greg.
Yeah, I think the Buckeyes roll. I think the Buckeyes defensive line destroys the Volunteers offensive line, but I do think Tennessee's defensive line is mighty good. And, the Buckeyes O-line, they're going to have to hold up some. But I think the Buckeyes wake up. I think they give Will Howard a chance to make some decisions out there, audibilize out of that running game, take advantage of you great wide receivers. I got the Buckeyes rolling. I'm going to take off, guys. I appreciate you all letting me come on in.
Thanks for being here, Greg. Happy holidays.
And one more thing, Daniel Montcastle, Mr. Hoosier, that's in the chat room. You've been a Hoosier since you came out of the birth canal. Good luck to you, sir. You deserve this moment. Indiana Hoosiers, Notre Dame. Talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Greg. Have a happy holidays. Tell your wife we said hi.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
Okay. See you later, little general. That's amazing. We're glad that he was able to give us a few minutes. And unfortunately, we started the show early because we had to do so. You weren't here for the other picks, but
right.
I think, I'll get a hold of him next week, see if we can set something up to talk about those valuations in the interim between weeks. Of course, we have more playoffs next week, so it's not like that'll be free and open and clear. But definitely, there was a lot of people paying attention to those valuations, and there's a lot of schools that are in flux that in another year are going to be worth quite a bit more, and then you have other schools that are going to go down some depending on where they're at and where they're attached. So I know that's something that's near and dear to your heart. So I'm sorry we couldn't cover that tonight. All right. Well, let's jump to the top since you weren't here for these other picks. Obviously, the game to start off tonight, you want to defend Notre Dame.
I think Notre Dame rolls in this game. Notre Dame, I think, has more quality than Indiana. I know it's been a magical Cinderella run for Indiana, but I think Notre Dame's a legitimate team. I think Indiana's going to see that tonight. I think it's a 10-point plus win for Notre Dame.
Okay. All right.
I don't even think it's going to be that close, honestly. I
Okay.
think Notre Dame takes care of business quick.
Let's talk Penn State SMU. I think I know where you're going, but yeah, tell us your pick here.
Big time win for Penn State. SMU is going to have seen nothing like this before going to Happy Valley in the cold weather. SMU is in for an absolute buzzsaw in this game. It's going to get real ugly, real fast. It's going to get 17-plus point win in this game.
Okay. Clemson at Texas.
Yeah, Clemson at Texas is a little bit one. It's kind of a harder one to predict. I mean, this spread is it's a tougher one.
Right.
Texas is quality. They were my pick for the national championship, actually. So I think that they could still get that done. I think Ohio State's going to be in the mix too. For that, Clemson is, if you want to call them hot, I don't know. They're okay. They're good. They're good enough to make the playoff, but Texas has a lot more quality. They're at home. The spread is a tough one on this. If it was straight up, it'd be a no-brainer for Texas. It might be around that 10 to 14 point mark, though.
Okay. All right. Any surprises as the week is, it's been 2 weeks off for these teams. They're now here ready to play. Where do you think what do you think this weekend looks like at the end of it? Sunday, we're looking back on these 2 days of playoff games. What's going to be the overriding story coming out of this weekend?
Home field advantage is bigger than you think. And especially if you're playing in an outdoor stadium like all these college stadiums are.
Okay.
We've seen in the NFL in the playoffs, like warm weather teams, your SMUs, your others that don't go and typically play in cold weather environments, especially in front of big crowds. That's a huge advantage. And I think that's going to show out this week. And I think that's going to be a common theme in the playoff era. In our models, the NFL, guys, just watch the NFL games and see what happens every single time when a warm weather team goes to Kansas City or goes somewhere else where it's freaking cold, right? And you're playing a tough football game that's usually just like a trench game at that point in time, and you can't sling it. It just changes the whole aspect of the game. It's kind of odd, though, because once we're out of the wild card weekend, once we're out of the first round, then it goes to neutral site, inside, warm weather. So it changes everything at that point. But this first round game, I think these games are all going to be dictated by home teams that have cold weather environments and stuff. They're going to have a huge advantage. And so I expect to see that.
Moen, same question.
I tend to agree with you. The home field thing is going to be a little more tempered than people think. I think like the Ohio Stadium one, Tennessee's going to travel well. I don't think it's a fan interaction thing as much as I agree with you. It's the weather. Like I said, when it's cold, it hurts to lay out and catch passes. It hurts to get sacked. All those things hurt a lot more. And I know they put heaters on the sidelines and everything, but when you're out on that field, it's bone-chilling cold. So
Right.
if and Replica was talking in chat about SMU being cold in Dallas. Cold in Dallas is 50 degrees.
Yeah.
Cold in Penn State is 25 degrees.
Yeah, it's not at all the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is what it feels like right now in State College, Pennsylvania, 25.
Right. I think my storyline's going to be the more the merrier coming out of this weekend. I think they're going to see the value to adding more teams. And there's going to be more thought put to the drop the bye and just have everybody play. Now it might not turn out that way. I might be completely wrong. But I could see college football trying to take over the whole weekend and going 2-4 and go from noon to 10 at night on Saturday and just basically say to the NFL, we're not going to run away from this time slot. We realize we're going to lose some viewers, but I think this is the chance, and I mentioned this earlier, you probably didn't hear it, but this is the chance for all those people, all those old college football fans that have always said college football fans are better than they are in the NFL. The passion, the connection, the way you're directly connected to the actual city and university is different than the professional platform in the NFL. This is that chance for all those people to come out of the woodwork and watch these games in deference to what the NFL would prefer. And this is, I think, the passion argument. I don't want to hear it again if college football, all these games are 4 million. If that's all they can get to watch some of these playoff games, and it's definitely going to drop the value of an ongoing enterprise as the CFP, I think that might send people back to the drawing room. So any thoughts on that? The idea that the passion of college football is enough to sort of trump NFL games that we're not in the playoffs yet, even though some of these games are elimination games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on the comparison between the two?
Yeah, so the college football versus the NFL is always going to win that battle. Like, look, I think that people are more passionate about college because they have linkage to when they were in college. Like when I was at the University of Utah and stuff, I have all those memories and of the Utes' good seasons and like ripping down goalposts and like you have like an emotional connection to college that you don't have to a pro team, even if it's your city team. But at the end of the day, people are going to watch the best product, and that's the professional product. I mean, this is semi-pro, but like that's going to be the NFL. The NFL is going to beat college football anytime. NFL gets over double, about 2.5 times per rating for
That's
an NFL
crazy.
game, even a playoff game.
2.5 times.
Yeah, I mean, like you're talking about like for an NFL playoff game, like getting 20, 30, 40 million viewers, and like it's a pretty big range. But like if you're in a big time college football game, you might approach 20. Like in the Super Bowl, gets over 100 million. Like so, you're talking about just massive viewership for pro football. College football cannot try to beat out pro football. They can beat everybody else. So the second most popular sport in the United States outside of the NFL, but you just don't go against the NFL. The NFL is going to win that matchup. It's going to show out in the numbers this weekend. SMU, Penn State are playing on TNT, I think, versus the Chiefs game, if I recall, in the morning. On Saturday morning, the Chiefs are playing the Texans. Okay. And also SMU is playing Penn State on TNT. That number is going to get a bad rating, guys. Like for a playoff game, like you're probably going to be lucky to get over 10 million viewers on that game. And then the Chiefs game is going to get like 25 million viewers, like it's just going to it. But like you're playing the best of the best. The NFL is the best. You can go against any other league in the world, but just not the NFL. It's tough. Like you got to figure that out, the balancing act of it, because the NFL is going to put late Saturday games on in December. That's like the agreement that's been there for years and years. So this is going to be one of the problems with the playoffs. But you watch, the theme is for TNT, the games that are going to get outsourced and put on TNT are going to go against NFL games. Like they're going to sublicense those games, I think. So
something that came out just in the last couple of days from Bob Thompson, who obviously is on, this is where he lives and breathes. Ex-TV executive, somebody that understands both the professional and college games. From a broadcasting standpoint, he's like, they had conversations with the NFL, and the NFL offered them sort of a middle ground. Like, we won't encroach here. You guys can have this opportunity to play, and we won't, try to just absolutely kill you, like is what's going to try to happen tomorrow. And they said that the CFP turned it down. Where does that myopic type of thinking come from? Because in my opinion, that's insanity. It's better to moderate with somebody and try to improve just a little bit than try to just go head to head and be antagonistic, isn't it?
I wonder what those terms were, right?
He didn't say. He said he knew, but that's not something he was going to be sharing.
Like, what if it was simply like NFL's like, we're playing at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and you're just not going to put a time slot in that position because that's where we're going to be going. Like, you never know what those negotiations or discussions look like. So maybe it really wasn't as like wasn't necessarily a negotiation. Amicable. It was probably just forced in the hand. The NFL doesn't need to kowtow to college football. We love college football. I love it. It's my favorite sport. But the NFL is king. The NFL can put a game on any time and get big time ratings. They don't want to go against college football because there is some redundancy there, a lot of it, because college football fans are NFL fans, just like all of us. But like they're going to do it anyway. They're going to force that issue just to show college football its place.
It's going to be something like YouTube TV. You do dual screen, right? You could do both broadcasts too.
Exactly.
Moen, what are your? Let's try to dovetail this part of the story. What are your overriding thoughts going to be if let's just assume the CFP gets pummeled and it's not a 2x, it ends up being something like a 3 or a 4x more.
Well, it's going to have to be, though. We have to keep that in mind. The NFL games are on OTA broadcast.
Right.
The two games that are going head-to-head against the NFL are SMU at Penn State, Clemson at Texas. You either have to have a cable package with TNT or have HBO Max to stream it.
Right.
So you're already losing viewers. Unless they release the viewers on Max, we don't know how many people have streamed it on Max.
Right.
So then you're going to have to rely on the TNT number. The TNT number is going to be low simply because I don't think a lot of people realize those games are on TNT.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of people looking tomorrow saying, where is that game? Why isn't it on ESPN? Why isn't it here? Why isn't it there? Because it's on TNT. So
right.
it's you're going to be comparing apples and oranges doing it that way. Look, you're not going to beat the NFL. It's never going to happen. But the best thing they can do is just move week 0 to week -1 and week 1 to week 0. And then play, instead of playing this weekend,
could have played last weekend.
Yeah, played last weekend. And, I think you get better turnout for these games too. Because, I mean, for a lot of people, they're traveling for the holidays. For Ohio State
and you
fans,
could do Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday. It gives you opportunity to have more games. Look, I'm not disagreeing with either of you. I thought that was just an interesting aside to the whole conversation. There's going to be a lot of strands and storylines that come out of this first round and all of the college football playoff this year because we've never done something this big before. But
one of the things.
Go ahead.
Just like here's a thought too. The ACC is getting massive screwed, guys. Like the ACC teams that are in the playoff, SMU and Clemson, are going against NFL games and they're getting stuck on TNT.
Yeah.
If I'm an ACC fan, you got to smell that all the way. Be like, we're getting freaking screwed. And the narrative after the playoffs are over, when we're looking at ratings and how bad the ACC game ratings were, is because of that's going on right now. Your games were on TNT and they were going against NFL games. Right. And if the ACC loses, they're going to lose the narrative battle too. So, basically,
that's true.
They got screwed. They got completely screwed, and their media providers screwed them again. The ACC is just getting housed. And if the Big 12 was playing on wildcard weekend on the first round, we would have got screwed too. It's just how it is. They're going to put the biggest brands on the biggest channels to get the biggest ratings, and they're going to tout the ratings, and they're going to just keep beating that drum. And so the narrative, watch out for the narrative, the ACC low viewership. And how the ACC probably shouldn't get as many teams in because they can't get a ton of viewership for those games. Well, that could easily happen.
And this is where we circle back to the conversation from the last couple of weeks, how much of an advantage it is that Arizona State isn't playing this weekend. Yeah. And the ACC gets 2 teams in, but they lose their championship game, and that puts them into the 11 and 12 spot. And how big of a deal that really could be, right? I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying. From that standpoint, I thought the ACC was screwed up at the beginning by Clemson winning. They would have been much better not even playing that game and just giving the spot to SMU than what ended up happening. And I agree with you, Ute. The TCU loss in the national championship is the only thing they talk about from that championship 2 years ago or 3 years ago. They don't talk at all about the fact that they beat Michigan in the round before. So it's the final thing that's going to make a difference. And playing on that bye weekend, I think there's going to be additional controls that come with that too.
Absolutely.
Guys, I want to put this out here too. This is going to be dependent on how competitive these games are.
Yeah,
I think that Penn State game's getting out of hand quick. So I do expect the Penn State game to get low. It'll probably be the lowest rated. Listen, if that Clemson-Texas game is competitive into the second half, that game can actually start drawing a good number.
Because
people will start tuning in to see Texas lose potentially.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate how many people love to watch Texas lose.
Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude.
There's a lot to that. They're not the only ones people watch to lose. Notre
Oh,
Dame
there's
tonight.
lots.
The Notre
Uh-huh.
Dame
Notre
tonight
Dame,
game.
Ohio State. There are a lot of teams out there that people love to watch lose.
We will have to see what the number is on a Friday night holiday, the really first holiday weekend as we look to these next 3 weekends as we go through the holiday season. A lot of people doing family parties, work events. This Friday, while it's by itself, it's on TNT.
This game on TNT tonight?
No. The game tonight's on ABC.
Oh, I apologize.
Dude,
I
this
thought
is
you
going to
said it
get
was on
big
TNT.
ratings tonight.
No.
Notre Dame's on.
The two
Okay.
primetime games are on ABC. The other two games are TNT.
I misunderstood you. I will say this: if the number is over 8 million, I think it's a win.
This number tonight, it's going to be 15 million or more, I think.
See, we talked about you. That was part of the conversation you missed. I said I could see +8. I think Greg was. I can't remember where Greg was.
Greg was at 9. I was at 6.
Yeah, you were at 6.
Is if this gets out of hand. If this gets out of hand early, people aren't going to keep watching it.
Dude, you guys, there's a lot of like the promotion for this game. It's Notre Dame. It's the first playoff game. It's exclusive tonight. This game's going to get massive ratings. I really think I'm talking like this is big time. It's going to get big time.
I agree with you. It might start at 12 to 15 million, but if it gets out of hand and Notre Dame's running away with it, it's going to drop, and that's going to bring
at the same time
down.
Social media is very powerful. If Indiana and Notre Dame are nip and tuck going into the middle of the third quarter, you could have a game that starts at 12 jump to 18 or 19. I mean, there's nothing else really going on. And that's the one thing that I think maybe will mitigate a little of the TNT stuff is people will immediately, if they're interested in this game, they're going to find it. And the easiest ways they can find it, they don't have to look for it. It will pop up on their social media streams. They'll say, okay, this is how I watch the game. Yeah, it's kind of a hassle. But everybody has that in their basic packages anyway, and the games will be covered. So I agree with you. Big risk with TNT, especially this first year. But in 2 years, in 3 years, I think TNT is going to carve out itself something that people might become synonymous with these playoff games being on their over their air. Don't you think?
Well, 100%. And like the Big 12 games will be on TNT.
Yeah,
they need to be on TNT, right? Because that's going to be the future partner for the Big 12. Unlike any other conference, it's going to be more of an exclusive partner for Big 12, and one day maybe the primary partner. So, look, you sacrificed huge ratings today for like an investment in the future, a win-win for both sides. And so I'm okay with that long game. The TNT does not have an agreement with the ACC. And the fact that they're getting these ACC games, like, I don't see the bigger win in that. And I agree, to sum it all up, I agree with Moan, though, that the Penn State SMU game seems like the one clunker for all these playoff games, unless it's close somehow into like the second half. If this game gets out of hand early, it's going to be an embarrassing number.
Yeah, that will be disappointing to have the playoff and maybe have the first playoff game that's hosted at Penn State ends up being an absolute blowout, and the number is like 3 million or something. That would be really, really bad.
It's going to do better than that. Even if it is a blowout, it'll do better than 3.
Okay.
6 million, maybe 6 million floor for these
Big Ten fans will watch Big Ten football. So, I mean, you're probably going to get a lot of people from Michigan, Ohio, Maryland, Indiana, Illinois watching that game. So,
well, I'm excited. I'm really excited about this. Now, we didn't start off the show with shout out. So, you guys ready to do that?
Sure.
All right, let me pull this down. And let's just start at the top. Stormy Cyclone, member extraordinaire. Watched my show on Wednesday night with Fergie. I hope everybody got a chance to watch that show. It was a lot of fun. We talked BYU, Colorado, and then NIL transfer portal. And he lifted the veil on Colorado a little bit, which we will be doing more stuff with Fergie in the future. Anyway, hello, guys. Let it begin. Private equity valuations show how far the Big 12 is behind the P2. There's no doubt about it. Those private equity evaluations. Now, I will say this. This is really the first year where you're taking into account it's now a P4, and those dynamics are going to change some. but there's no doubt about it. I know you wanted to talk about this for a minute. Why don't you just kind of tell us what what was your takeaway about that?
Look, I've got a short video that's going to be an exclusive that's going to come out probably tomorrow or recorded tomorrow morning where I'm talking about this. And I think people are completely missing the mark on this. They're looking at the actual net values, but if you see how that was calculated, it's pretty evident that there's like some misses with
That's
that
what I thought
approach.
too. I
And
thought
so
so
we're going
too.
to go into like a different way to look at this and a different way to view this based on like what the private equity is saying that the investment's worth.
I agree with
Like,
you.
and so like, in other words, what the multiple is, we're going to get into that and what teams are the highest multiple in the nation per conference. And that's going to give a different perspective because right now these valuations are based on your whole revenue for your athletic department.
Right.
What they did is basically said, okay, your revenue is whole revenue is $1, multiply that by 4, and then we're going to add and adjust some figures based on that. And that's going to be your worth. So if you've had low revenue for your athletic department, you're going to have a lower overall enterprise value, your valuation and everything, and higher too. But like what really matters is like your multiple number, because that's how good an investment you really are to a private equity firm. And the number one, okay, I'm just going to give you guys a little tidbit and stuff. Okay. Who do you think, as far as the best investment based on that data, when I back engineered that data using some finance concepts that are pretty simplistic that I'm going to go over in the video, who do you think is the best private equity investment in the nation? Based on like your multiple factor, what you're going to get out of that investment, not necessarily just like based on the brand or anything else, but like who do you think would be like the highest growth, best opportunity out of any brands?
You're talking about for college football?
College football. Who has the highest multiple? That's
yeah.
the way.
Who has the bigger upside? You're saying
Who is the highest upside out of all the teams in the nation?
Can you think of any, Ohio State is already big, so I doubt their multiple would be very vast. Has to be somebody that's in the ACC or the Big 12. I'm not sure which school though.
It's the team in the Big 10, but it's a newer team in the Big 10. Who's like a hot team? Who's a hot team?
It's Oregon. It's Oregon.
Bingo.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Oregon. Oregon is the number one team based on multiple.
Right.
If you could touch Oregon with private equity, oh my gosh, guys. Holy smokes, there'd be such an opportunity there. They are the number one team as far as the multiple. But that's based on 2013 information before the Big 10 media payouts come, so maybe that changes in a bit. But the Ducks. Private equity's got to be licking their chops at the Ducks to get an opportunity to get in on Oregon football or Oregon athletics. It's nuts.
Okay. So you're going to touch on that in your video then. We can preview that. Excellent. If you need a running mate for that video, just let me know. You probably don't, but if you need help, I can come in and lift some water for you.
Cool.
Ryan Willie checking in, another OG member of the Mafia family, high college football mafia from the Titanic at the University of Wisconsin. At least he can look in the mirror and see what the situation is. Brian, thank you so much for being here. Happy holidays to you and your family. Clint Moses checking in when Greg was on the show. Clint says, "Holy smokes!" We really are appreciative for Greg spending some time with us. He's got his show. He's going to do the watch party. Everybody, when we're done, check over to Peek Around the Corner on YouTube and watch Greg's show tonight. And then he's going to be live tomorrow as well.
Right. You can find a link to his show. It's pinned at the top, guys.
Oh, there we go. Thanks. Appreciate that, Moan. Clay Johansson saying, "Go Blue." Go Blue, checking in.
Go Blue.
Shonsky saying, "Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here, Shonsky. It's great to see you." Another member of the Mafia family, Rock and Rant, contributor extraordinaire, saying, "Oh, Lord, they let anyone on this show." That was when Greg was on it. And he says, shouts out to Stormy saying, "What's up?" That's cool. I love when you guys cheer each other on. I love that. We got the smartest fans, I swear. Steve Ohio, Florida says Ohio State versus Tennessee isn't opposite of an NFL game. That's the night game.
Yes.
And will the previous NFL game be off by the time it's broadcast?
It should. Kickoff time, they've got it listed as 8 p.m. start time, which means kickoff's like at 8:43. Because that's just the way it is now.
Okay.
You got to have all the preambles and all that stuff. So
That game's going to
Go
get a
ahead.
crazy number, guys. Like
Yeah, I
Ohio
think so
State
too.
is the biggest driver anyway. Tennessee's a huge brand. They get big eyeballs.
Yep.
That game is going to get 15 million plus viewership for sure. It could approach 20.
Well, everybody's going to be ginned up from the previous day and a half of football. They're like, let's do the cherry on top thing, right? I totally agree with you. It might be 20 million plus. Building up that anxiousness. That's what people want to engage with. Becky Go Huskies, another contributor to the Mafia family, checking in, also a valuable member. $5 super chat saying Ducks don't need private equity. They have an owner like the NFL, which is a fact. Becky is exactly
That's
right.
so true.
Thanks, Becky, for the super chat. Happy holidays to you and everybody. I'm not going to say this 1,000 times tonight. Just blanket for everybody watching now live or watching on recording. We're all grateful to you, and we thank you for helping us grow this College Football Mafia network. And I'm humbled by everything you guys do for us. And I know I echo the rest of the team for how grateful we are for everything we've built and we continue to build. This next off season is going to be fantastic. So happy holidays to you and your families. Be safe. And yeah, I could do that 1,000 times tonight, and I'm not going to do that. Let me get to another super chat here from Cleveland Rocks, another valuable member of the Mafia family, OG at that. $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Let's get him a sounder there. Let's get Becky and him.
Let them cook, baby. They've been sucking you, sucking you, and sucking you. They've been sucking you, sucking you, and sucking you. They've been sucking you, sucking you, and sucking you. You're sick of it. I get it.
I love that.
You're a bad man. You're a bad man, Mon. You were a DJ at one point, weren't you? Look at him. He looks like a DJ.
I know.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
I love it. Cleveland Rocks, $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Have a safe and wonderful Christmas. Hoping all have a fantastic 2025. We do too. Yeah, be safe. That's what we want, is everybody be safe. And take care of your families. Enjoy. I'm going to say this again too. Now's a great time. If you get a prompt to call a friend, somebody you haven't talked to in your family, act on that this holiday season. There's a lot of anxiety and depression associated with the holidays. And if you guys get those promptings, it's for a reason. So reach out and just say, hey, even a text is something that can brighten somebody's day. So thanks for that. Let's see here. Me versus Echo Chamber saying Greg, Mo, and Bomber. We're sorry we had to start early. You missed on that.
I know.
But it was a good start. Absolutely. And we're very grateful for Greg joining us. This UF Tulane game is a slow burn. Tulane offense is stuck in the mud versus UF defense. Yeah, I thought that game might have an interest level to it. I'm not watching, obviously.
Florida won 33-8 in that game. 33-8. Florida.
That's what the score is?
That's what the final is.
Oh, my hell. It's over. Hoosiers are definitely winning tonight. There we go. Caleb Ramirez checking in for Ohio State, the Ohio State University. Hi, everyone. Great to see you, Caleb. Thanks for being here. Daniel Mountcastle saying, I'll be watching. Good to see you, Daniel. And I appreciate you being here. And everybody watching the show, make sure you subscribe. Hit that like button. Give us that bounce that we need to continue to grow this thing and to help us have the ability to do more special videos like you've been doing. And we'll continue to do this off season. So,
hey, Daniel, I've got a question for you too. Like, so being an Indiana fan and this run and everything, like, not only what are the emotions that you're feeling about like this game coming up and everything, but what about like your other Hoosier family, friends, and everything? I want to know kind of what you guys are experiencing right now, and like what kind of conversations you're having. I love that about college football. This is so cool. Congrats on this run and everything. Best of luck tonight. But yeah, to let us know kind of what's going on in your mind and everything with this game and just with the environment.
Another comment from him. I remember, wasn't that the year Minnesota qualified as a 5-7 team because there weren't enough bowl eligible teams? What year is he talking about there, Moen? Do you know?
He was talking about the year that quarterback got paid to stay.
Oh, and play in the – okay. We talked about that a little bit, Ute, how they're now paying players to stay, not take the transfer portal, and to play in a bowl, or more than likely these are playoff teams that want to keep their players around. Who was it, though? Somebody lost a backup quarterback.
Penn State.
Penn
Penn
State
State.
lost. That's remarkable.
But he's
that
still with the team, I think.
He put his papers in.
He put his papers in, but he is still practicing with the team. So
If they accept his transfer portal papers,
I-
I think that puts you in limbo, doesn't it?
I have no idea how it works anymore. Your guess is as good as mine. I
Anybody
don't know how
know?
these things work.
Anybody who's watching, let us know on that, because I think
if
that's
it-
an open question.
If it doesn't work that way, it'll go in front of a judge and it'll change the rule. And now every school is going to be like Utah and BYU, where we're all going to get 34-year-old quarterbacks
Hey,
playing their junior season.
there we go.
24, Moan. Come on, not 34.
Replica checking in, saying that another valuable member of the Mafia family, saying the solution to the portal is fixing the CFP calendar. The season needs to start the first week of August and end before Christmas. Boy, you imagine playing football games at Arizona State in August 20th? And before Christmas, teams also need to be more frugal with NIL spending. I think those are great observations, Replica. You guys have any comments about that?
I think that is a good opportunity for Iowa to be more frugal with their NIL spending and see what happens. Because nobody else is going to be, guys. Like that's
Not no.
Theoretically that's great, but like this thing is a freaking war right now. You know, it's an arms race,
and it's out of control until they get collective bargaining and you get some pay scales and some other things. Yeah.
Here's my concern. You get collective bargaining and stuff. So you're bargaining, I guess, like with collective bargaining, then you still have the opportunity to do an NIL contract, though.
Sure.
It's like an NFL player would, right? Like, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is
advertising. Yeah, it's just right? Advertising. Yeah.
And so, like, even if you had collective bargaining, you could hold a player for a couple of years at your school, but the bags would still just flow from outside investors, you know, NIL folks. And
right.
I don't know how to get rid of that in the game. I think it's here to stay, and it's just going to be a permanent arms race.
I look at it now like in politics, the PACs, they can spend unlimited amounts of money to get their political message out. We're talking billions of dollars. We're at this point now with third-party funding for political campaigns. That's what I see. The next step is graduated from NIL. Is collective bargaining will eventually be brought in. More organization will be put around college football, but at the same time, it's going to be like the Premier League. Like they're going to pay a salary, but really where they make their money is on these one-time a year annual lump payments, and that's what keeps you in good graces. It's pretty crazy.
It is crazy.
Let's see here. Becky Go Huskies. We talked about Washington State for a little bit. Jake Dickard. Do you have any comments about Becky's saying Dickard was frustrated? Do you have any feedback on that? Any observations? I made the observation that I don't know that Wake Forest is a better job, even though it gives you all the advantages of being at Wake Forest, the ACC and the recruiting grounds. The path to the playoff could easily be in Pullman, easier than if he goes there and goes 4-8, 5-7, maybe comes out with a 6-6 team at Wake Forest. Why is that a better opportunity? You have observations about that?
I think that anybody would be frustrated in his position. I don't blame him for leaving at all. Like, I mean, he lost his entire roster.
Yeah.
It's like you recruit and like you do this genius recruiting from Idaho and Canada, wherever he's pulling players from, and he forms
California, Washington State gets players out of California.
And so Washington State did a great job in player development, but you lose them after 1 year into the free agency. Like there's just no way to have a consistent winner when you can't retain players because of no collective bargaining and no multi-year contracts.
Right.
So he's a first of a long list of coaches that are going to be jumping to the Power Four because there's no way to compete on a year-in-year basis. It's so hard to hit on recruits. And when you do, to lose those players in 1 year to the portal is painful. And so I think that he was just giving up on that, saying, I'm not going to be playing this game at this level.
Right.
Wake Forest is at least at the power level. So I've got more resources. Maybe, I don't know. Like, I mean, like at least you're in the power. You can say you're in the ACC.
Yeah.
It is a step up right now, guys. The ACC
Okay.
is a step up from the Pac-12. And so it's unfair. And until collective bargaining happens, this is going to be a trend we're seeing. It's not fair. It's annual free agency. And you can't pay players like the big schools can.
Let me ask you this, and by the way, I think, and Greg had you guys the same outlook. I was trying to take the flip side of the argument and see if you could say, Washington State, that easier path to the playoff. But let's take all that out. And what if money was irrelevant? What if they got a billionaire funder that came in and said, we're going to fund you like you would get at SMU. We'll give you the money to compete, and we'll basically say, don't worry about the media deal because we're going to take care of the program. Would you look at it any differently then?
Of course. Yeah, that's a complete game changer. You could become a Gonzaga of college football.
Right.
And the way to become a Gonzaga is to have some type of billionaire benefactor that's going to fund your NIL so it's as strong as anybody in the nations, and you're paying premium rates for players to play at that level to get playoff spots. That is an absolute model that could be done, but how many billionaires are going to do that?
Yeah, Washington State doesn't have the It's a tough
It could work for sure.
No problem.
It could work.
Okay. Trent Brown, my brother's namesake. Merry Christmas to the Mafia family, even Utes. There you go. Trent's
there we
good.
go. Thank you, Trent.
Hey, I tell you what, we're not going to talk it tonight, but Utah's doing real work in the transfer portal.
They are.
A lot to look positive at that program right now. Daniel Gygax, contributor extraordinaire and also a member of the Mafia family, $5 super chat. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you, Daniel. I remember baseball players coming back to play football. Yeah, the ruling with Pavia, we don't have to go through it tonight in detail, but it is going to change things. You're going to have 27, 28-year-old quarterbacks.
You know who else was a great dual sport athlete coming out of high school?
Who?
Willie Joe.
Who?
Willie Joe.
I couldn't care less about the team.
Oh, you're talking about Namath. Okay. Well, yeah, well, Dion played multiple sports, right? So
there you go.
It's possible. It's just it's hard with time, especially nowadays. Daniel Montcastle, $20 super sticker. Thank you, Daniel. I'm just going to give you claps. No one can do a sounder if you want.
Let us hope, Daniel, that at the end of this game tonight, Kurt Signetti goes up to the athletic director and says this.
Tell him to bring me my money.
Yeah, he brought the money. More money.
I love it. I love it. Let's see. More comments. One more from Daniel. Indiana is $70 million a year behind Ohio State in what they have invested in football. If Indiana doesn't win this year, they might never win. This is the year. It's definitely lightning in a bottle. New coach, new system, caught a lot of people in the Big 12 off guard. Next year, they're not going to have the same advantages.
No, I think they're going to have more advantages. They're going to have more advantages moving forward. Signetti is building that program. He's agreed to a new contract. You're right. This is a year it's lightning in a bottle, but I look for Indiana to be at the top of the Big Ten moving forward.
Let's talk about Indiana for a second, because I think Indiana. So Daniel, you need to understand this. Like, the Indiana's become the model at other schools on how to build and flip a program quickly. Utah's using the Indiana model on basically changing the entire offense, bringing in a new OC and just flipping the roster, kind of like the Dion philosophy, but more like Signetti bringing kids over from the school that he was coaching beforehand. So is the success Signetti related at Indiana strictly, or is it because he had the quality at the previous roster stop? I think it was Georgia Southern, right? Is that right, guys? Georgia Southern was his previous stop.
I'm not sure. Moen knows.
I believe so. Or one of those schools, and he brought a bunch of players over to that Indiana roster that were playing at the G5 level that performed this year, that really got that roster where it needed to be quickly. And that's a model that's being used elsewhere because of Indiana's modeling. The question is that sustainable after this year, next year, when that kind of fades off?
Yes.
Yeah, he took quite a few of his good players from JMU when he came over.
JMU. I'm sorry. Yes, JMU.
Jay Hill did the exact same thing when he came to BYU from Weber State. But I mean, they're studs. We're talking guys that are going to
Jack Kelly,
now.
right?
Yep. And that's one of like 6 that have been stars at BYU. And I agree with everything you're saying. It's Moen is pointing to the coach. I'm thinking program level. Are they going to be in the top half of the Big Ten for the next 5 years if Cignetti's there? I don't know. It's easy to get away with stuff in a year and surprise people. The Colin Kaepernick offense, right? But you give defensive coordinators another year, 2 years to actually game plan against that system, the wins don't come as easy as they did. So I agree with what you're saying. He is laying groundwork, but I think it might be tougher to stay at the top there than they might think.
So yeah, my thought is like the JMU roster when Cignetti was there in the past. He obviously liked the roster. I would imagine that they were heavy in wins and stuff. That's why he got the Indiana promotion. He brought a lot of that roster over. But once you're getting a year or 2 years away from that previous G5 program that you're coaching, like you don't have that linkage anymore, right?
Yep.
You have to recruit based on how everybody else recruits in your territory and elsewhere. So I don't know if that just is the advantage lost or is it just Cignetti's system? We'll find out a lot more in the future. I hope that Indiana's here to stay. That'd be amazing for college football.
100% agree with you guys. Yep. Indiana being big in football is just helping the overall product. There's no doubt about it. Clint Moses says 2-pack is now the Malik Murphy Conference. That was an interesting pickup for Oregon State. They've been extremely active in the portal. We're not going to have time to get into all those details, but there's no doubt about it. They are. Daniel Gygax says, speaking of media deals, there hasn't been a peep on the Disney, ESPN, and ACC extension. And Daniel, you're right, there hasn't. There's these rumors that Florida State's trying to make up with the ACC. I think that's all they are is rumors, in my opinion. If there was there, we would have more to go off. They recently lost another local piece of the lawsuit. One something like a revelation, and I can't remember. We haven't had a lawyer on for a bit, but Florida State's not throwing in the towel. So February 1st is going to be this next month and a half of the ACC is going to be extraordinary. Tony Lawson checking in. Good to see you, Tony. Another OG, been around with us and a member for a long time. Mona Vision, you look our zero lineman. Damn you! You took our zero offensive lineman. Sorry.
Free pizza doctrine, Tony. Free pizza.
Okay. Free pizza.
Wasn't that what you said about USC? About
sure.
Pac-12?
But if someone delivers a free pizza to your house, you're eating that pizza. That O-lineman came to Columbus and said, I want money. We're going to pay that man his money.
Pay the man the money. Skaven, yes, checking in. Good to see you, Skaven. Happy holidays. Hello, gentlemen. And MSD Gopher, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.
What's MSD Gopher mean?
That's probably a typo with Mad Gopher for Greg.
Mad Gopher. Okay, yeah. With Greg being here, great to see you. Jimmy Otson checking in. Good to see you, Jimmy. I'm glad to have you back. Plus, having a G5, G6 team get better opportunities than the ACC or Big 12 isn't going to last much longer. In my opinion, in the offseason, they are going to close the G5, G6 loophole. I think Boise State getting in, again, this is the first season, but they're going to, Brett Yormark's not going to let that go between his teeth. With the relative strength of schedules and the conference comparisons, they really aren't. So I agree. I don't know. I haven't asked you guys this, but in my opinion, the Boise State, 3-seed loophole, I think next season is going to close. What do you guys think about that?
Haven't considered it before, but I do agree with you that Yormark's not going to allow this to happen. And not just Yormark, but Phillips. I mean, they beat out the ACC is not even into the second round. They probably are going to get eliminated in this first round wild card. Right. So they can't be happy about that either. So this loophole is going to be closing, I would imagine, through politicking. Yeah, agreed.
Moen?
Look, something has to change. I don't know what that something is, but the Big Ten and the SEC are not going to abide only getting 3 teams into the playoff.
Okay. The offseason is going to be extraordinary for sure. Replica again. Dickert probably didn't want to deal with the pressure of roster retention at a school like Wazoo.
True.
This is the second year in a row his best player got poached. I would just say this as a Washington State local. Washington State's been doing this rebuild, losing coaches every 3-4 years thing for decades, everybody. So for the rest of the world, it got big news because the way Dickert left and how he sort of landed on the ground at Wake Forest. But just so everybody knows, Washington State has always been the redheaded stepchild in the state of Washington, and they're used to rebuilding, even with less facilities. That's why I opened the question up. If they could get a Mr. Moneybags that would help support keeping and retaining some of these players and getting a more steadfast coaching team, again, in 5 years, I think we might turn around and look at this and say Washington State possibly made at least one run into a playoff, and Wake Forest is, again, 4-8, 5-7, 6-6.
Wake Forest is an odd job to take, right? That's just
that's what I think. I don't have a problem with them leaving. Just Wake Forest to me isn't really a jump.
It's almost like the jump, like the job's past him, and he just jumped to the last available job.
I think that's right. He didn't get an offer at Nebraska. He didn't get an offer at Florida State. Mm-hmm. You know, I think Washington, in my opinion, they're peers. They play at the exact same level. The only thing that's different right now is the money. So
you know where he would have been good at? West Virginia. I mean, I don't know, like the ties and stuff recruiting, but he just looks like a fit for like the. Anyway, we're not going to go on the Rich Rod thing tonight.
Yeah, we're not. No. Hey, if you're watching, you're a West Virginia fan. Ute and I are not against Rich Rodriguez to West Virginia. We're not against any of the coaching staff. We're excited for the turnover there. I don't know where those rumors started, but they're absolute nonsense. Daniel Gygax again, but jumping from a Wake Forest to an SEC school is easier, where SEC ADs can get to Winston-Salem. If you're a good enough coach, they'll come get you wherever you're at.
That's true, but listen, time slots, guys. Washington State on the CW, Wake Forest mid-afternoon on a Saturday.
Keep talking. I'm going to see who got bigger ratings this last year. I bet it's Washington.
I bet it's Washington State too. In fact, I
probably
almost guarantee it was Washington State.
1 sec.
I don't think it matters, Moen. I don't think that matters. You go from if the Pac-12 was still around, they would be absolute peers. Absolutely, 100%.
If. So
now, wait a second. So what's separated? Now the conferences have changed, right? And the money is probably the biggest thing. But they both technically have the same access to the playoff. So I'm saying if they get a little bit of funding, I think Washington State hangs.
Again, I think you're putting way too much value on the playoff. I think the playoff is very competitive in the G6. You've got 6 potential conference champions, whereas Wake Forest only needs to win their conference.
Yeah, but when has that ever happened?
Doesn't matter. It just not to say it couldn't happen. Not to say it couldn't happen.
Nobody's saying it's impossible.
How many times has Washington State got into the 12-team playoff as a G6?
Well, this is the first one, so
okay.
Obviously
they missed. They missed out.
Okay, but that's this year. In 3 years, if they rebuild and are peers with Boise State, they're going to get that spot.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to keep up with Oregon State. Look at the money Oregon State's spending. Look at the money Memphis is spending.
Okay, that's now. I'm saying now that Washington State knows where they're standing, they have this opportunity, and nobody's going to force them to do it, and they're not going to just steal the opportunity from anybody else. They have to do it themselves. I'm just saying it's not out of the realm of possibility Washington State gets funding like Oregon State's getting right now. That could happen.
It could happen, but I just don't think it's going to.
Okay.
It's a bigger brand than Wake Forest. I mean,
it is
34% more TV viewership even in 2024.
Yes,
I just did the big calculation on it. It's hard. It seems like the last job that was available. I mean, there wasn't a lot, to be honest with you.
I don't remember another one he had a chance to get.
Right, he's probably banking on some openings at some places, right? But there wasn't too many power conference openings.
Okay.
These head coaching jobs are hard to get now and stuff. They don't want to pay the big buyouts because they want to pay the players, right?
See, that's what I'm saying. Coaching mobility is going to drop extremely low because nobody wants to pay coaches to sit on their couch. So the contracts are going to be much more conservative. And I think the idea that these guys just are movable like that, they'll just take the next rung in the ladder, I think is going to largely disappear. Because they can't offer to pay somebody out of their contract. I don't know. This is fascinating to me. This part of what's going on in the background, along with all the other realignment and media and NIL, all of it together, this piece might be the most intriguing to me. Is which is more valuable, the easier CFP path, or being able to recruit and going 7-5, 8-4, an extraordinary year in an ACC.
8-4 in the ACC.
Okay, and see, I would say I think that it depends on circumstances. I don't think you just say that out of hand. They're not going to get into the playoff at 8-4, Moen.
That's fine, but they're still going to make more revenue-wise than Washington State getting in the playoff every 6 years.
But it's not the money, though.
It is. It's the
Are
resources.
they playing for money? Are they? Why do they play the games? Why did they play the games?
Why did the quarterback just leave Washington State?
Because he went to Oklahoma.
And he got paid a boatload of money that Washington State couldn't afford to pay him.
They can't do that now, but that's not to say they couldn't do the exact same thing. It is possible.
They could, but if they could do that, why didn't they pay the quarterback a match what they paid Oklahoma paid him?
Well, they actually did try.
Well, they tried and they lost.
They did try. But that's not to say that they're out of each one of these. Anyways, it's something, for one thing, you and I can't settle this second because it's going to take time to determine it. Time will tell, I guess. Steve Moser, dang Florida. By the way, Steve, thanks for being a member of the Mafia family. Dang, Florida is really working Tulane from a yardage standpoint. Do we have a scoring update on that, you guys?
Yeah, you'd already said it's over. It's
the game is over.
33-8 is what it was, or
yikes.
It was a blowout.
Like that.
And Florida was what, 7-5 in the SEC?
Yeah.
I mean, they beat some good teams. Don't get me wrong. They've surprised all of us. We thought Napier was gone, and he's not.
And Tulane had lost their stud best player running a quarterback. So I don't even know. Why are we playing bowl games, guys?
I don't know.
This is crazy to play bowl games.
Money is the only reason.
Contractual obligations.
Yep. What Moen just said, they're already committed.
Contractual obligation. When does the contract end? These bowl games are a joke, man.
That's the reason that the PAC teams or the new Big Ten teams and the new ACC teams are playing in PAC affiliated bowls. Because there's a contract that says they have to.
Yeah, same with the Big 12 with BYU and Colorado. Same thing. That old Pac-12 slot.
It's crazy, but the greatest thing that happened to Utah football is not playing in a bowl game so they could recruit the portal. It's not fair. It's not fair at all, but that's exactly how it's worked. Rather than playing in the Las Vegas Bowl or something, right?
Yeah, I don't even. I agree with you.
It's crazy, man.
The chances you get hurt or something bad happens for a game that's only an exhibition. The bowls don't have the attachment, the emotional attachment like they used to. Now they're just a money grab. You got an open night on the calendar, put some college football on there. But I don't know why they're doing these games. I would prefer there was another tier of games for the next 12 or 16, and you do an NIT or something. Have games on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and do something that just alternates. Try to take more of the calendar. You get more people watching those games than they're going to watch some random Post-it notes bowl. If I was a player, I wouldn't play.
No.
If I had a chance to go to the NFL, I would not play. I would opt out. Let's see. Unless you get a boatload of money, $100,000 to show up for one game. Okay, I can see players doing that. Tony Lawson says SMU is bringing 2 semi-loads of heaters to Happy Valley. How cold is that going to be, Moen?
It's not going to be too bad. It's going to be like 25.
During the day, right?
Because it's during the day. You're going to have some cloud cover that traps some heat. You're going to be okay. Now, the Ohio State game tomorrow is going to be cold. With wind chills, it's going to be single digits.
Ooh.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, those Knoxville boys. Ooh.
Tennessee.
And
It gets
just so you guys know, Ohio Stadium is not winterized. It's cold.
okay.
Are we going to throw a parlay on this game, these games, guys, these cold weather games? Anyway, we'll talk about that at the show. I got to get
All
on
right.
these cold weather games. I want in, baby.
Replica, James Franklin is already making excuses, complaining about ticket sales, home field advantage, which is interesting because he has the home field advantage. Why is he complaining, Moen? Is he setting up everybody for failure?
Here's the problem with this game. If you're familiar with State College, there's not a lot of places to stay actually in State College.
Okay.
Hotel rooms there are going for $600 a night,
Wow.
2-night minimum.
Okay.
So you're basically even pricing out your fans that don't live in State College.
Okay.
So I mean that's the ticket prices are actually going down for most of these. There's plenty of tickets available for the Ohio State game tomorrow. It's just listen, it's towards the holidays. There's not a lot of money. People don't have a
Right.
lot of disposable income. You've got Christmas coming up.
Yep.
You got to visit family. All that
That's
stuff
true.
is just. This is along with the NFL games. This is just the worst weekend. I think that they could be doing this. This should
Yeah,
have
they
been
should have done it last
weekend.
weekend. Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. I'm warning everybody, we've got about 7-8 minutes, and then we're going to get out of here. So I think we've got enough comments already flagged. We're probably going to go with those to the end of the show. So if you want to get your comment out before we leave this playoff preview, our first one ever college football playoff preview show tonight, it'll have to be a super chat. I would do comments all night, but people want to get watching football games, so we're going to get out of here. I don't want Moen and Ute to miss any opportunities to be with their family. So we're just going to do a few more comments. So if you want your comment to be read, it'll have to be a super chat. I think it's ironic he's complaining about home field advantage. That
is nuts. If that's
don't
indeed
understand
true,
that
I
at all.
cannot believe that we're even seeing this thing.
Well, they
Yeah.
released fewer student tickets too.
Oh, is that right?
Oh my gosh, Moen! Like
Oh
this is
my
Penn.
gosh.
You're playing a 20-degree game
That's
versus SMU at
stupid.
Penn State.
That's stupid. I agree with
Oh.
you, Moen, 100%. That's really stupid. Let's see here. Daniel Montcastle, 20 degrees is different. The difference between playing at 20 versus 30 degrees is huge, actually. Anybody who spent any amount of time outside knows that 30 degrees is much different than 20. Sub 20 is a different type of cold. Now, is there going to be humidity in the air? If it's not snowing, will it feel oppressive, Moen?
That's the thing at the Ohio State game. It's supposed to be clearing clouds. That means that there is a power plant on campus at Ohio State.
Okay.
Which generally, if there's cloud cover, that does trap in a decent amount of residual heat. But
okay,
with no clouds, it's just going to be brutally cold. So that's, and Keep Choppa brings it up in the chat. Tons of brokers bought these Ohio State tickets. They're taking them at a loss now. They're selling them for below face value.
I
Are you
agree
going to
with
the game, Moen?
I had several opportunities. I'm still getting over
He's
this
been
cold.
sick.
I didn't want to.
Yeah. Let's see here. Antoine Coe. It's good to see you, Antoine. I'm glad Arizona State has the bye now. I think maybe. Y'all know where it's not cold? Tempe, Arizona, 76. Yeah, it's definitely cold here. Utah is going into the freezer this weekend, I think. Let's see. Let me scroll down more comments. I want to make sure I'm not missing any super chats. Keep chopping. Bowl games or beanbag toss on ESPN. Bowls still print money. It's true. I just think there's no practical reason to have them. That's how I look at bowl games. I'm sort of anti-bowl game at this point.
It's a great comment, actually. The beanbag toss. They look cornhole tournament.
Cornhole. Yeah. Or like bowling, right? Bowling on a Tuesday.
On
yeah. Baking Go Huskies, another $5 super chat. CFP was in charge of the tickets. Student sections were reduced and sold to fans. PSU lottery made the students mad. I think taking the students out of this is extremely stupid.
I agree. And that's part of the problem he has with the home field advantage because, look, the students that are on campus at Penn State right now, they have housing. They can get to the stadium. They've got someplace to stay. And they can't go because they don't have tickets.
Yeah. Yeah, these are issues that maybe they'll get these things ironed out in the coming years. I don't know.
Hmm.
It's never happened before, obviously.
Wow.
So,
Thank you, Becky.
sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, just thank you, Becky. Can we let her cook?
Oh yeah, let's get a cooker.
we'll
She's
let
been
her
on fire tonight.
Becky.
Let him cook.
That's for the students at Penn State.
Let him cook
There we
now.
go.
Let him
There we
cook.
go.
I said let
Let
him
her cook.
Look. All right. Purple Orca. Good to see you, Purple Orca. It's been a minute since I've seen you here. Make sure you subscribe. You're following us all on Twitter. Can Wazoo and Oregon State be on a level as Tulane, be sneaky good every couple of years? Yes, they can. In fact, I will even say they will. I don't even think it's an if. Oregon State's tooling up for next year. Oregon State wants to be in the CFP next year. They're spending money like it. So we'll have to see. Becky, little history. Wazoo has many conference titles as Wake Forest this century. Wazoo's won the Pac-10 a few times. Wazoo has had trouble raising $1.5 million to keep their QB. There's no doubt about it. Money is an issue, but it's not an impossibility. That's all I'm saying. Me versus Echo Chamber. Real question is the goal to make it to the CFP or to secure themselves financially? And this is where Moan and I are going back and forth. I think the goal is for schools like Wazoo and Wake is financial security over on-field success. In my opinion, I think it's CFP. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Moon.
I think it's financial security. You have to have resources. You need to have resources. And they don't have the money at Washington State. They can't get the resources necessary. It's going to just be a program that's constantly going to be, I hate to say it, but it's a stepping stone program now for coaches, for quarterbacks.
Sure. Yeah.
Go there, come from a JUCO, play there for a year, have a fantastic season. Then you can get paid $3 million to come to Oklahoma.
Yeah, you're right.
I think there's some interrelatedness here. I think on-field success brings financial
That's what I
success
would
too
say
for the university, right? Like, I mean, because we know that it increases student enrollment. There's ancillary benefits when you're getting talked about in your sports arena. So I think that the focus on getting to the CFP and the exposure would actually help the university a lot on the back end. So I think that they're pretty even in a lot of ways and stuff. So I'd say just do what it takes to win on the field. I think it would pay off.
Okay. Daniel Mountcastle again. We're getting a lot of Indiana in here tonight. I love it. Everyone is just amazed and happy with where we are. Not a bunch of Indiana fans around here. I live in the north central part of Indiana, and it's Purdue territory. But even they are rooting for us. Is the Big Ten cheering for Indiana to beat Notre Dame?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think there's a Big Ten squad. You know, usually I won't cheer for that team up north that even in the bowl games, but I think every team in the Big Ten is cheering for Indiana tonight.
So this is kind of like a bit shocking, actually. So Purdue fans are rooting for Indiana. Like, we talking like were Indiana fans rooting for Purdue when they were in the Final Four last year? Like, our Big Ten fans just like your rivalries kind of thrown to a side and you're just jumping on the conference bandwagon? Trying to understand this.
Well, listen, Purdue didn't have anybody in football to root for this year, so they might as well pick a team that's in state.
That's true. That's true.
Mona, do you root for Michigan in the playoff?
No,
Nope.
I think there's some
Never.
exceptions. Yeah, I agree with that. Look, Indiana right now, and this is not derogatory at all. It's the little engine that could, right? They're in this thing. They got a spot that a lot of people would have liked to have seen Alabama or Ole Miss in. So if they were to shock the world and beat Notre Dame, I think that would open a lot of eyes.
Right. David versus Goliath sells tickets when David wins.
Yeah. Yes, that's a help. But look at this, Moen. Earl Carr gifted 5 College Football Mafia memberships. Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
Hey.
I'm going to let you take over, Moen. What's going on there?
Milk. He needs some milk.
I am the milkman. My milk is delicious.
Thank you, Earl Carr, for those 5 gifted memberships to the College Football Mafia family. New family members: Buckshot Kid, Ralph P., Chris E., Noel Ramirez, hidden Hawaiian. You are hidden no longer. You are all now members of the College Football Mafia family. If you're here in the chat, make sure you thank Earl Carr for gifting you those memberships. Consider paying it forward, gifting someone else a membership. And Earl Carr, thank you very much. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to you all.
Thank you, Earl.
Thank you, Earl.
Get ready
so
for
much.
this, guys. This is coming tomorrow. Hot stocks, Big 10, Big 12, multiples. Okay. I'm going to break this down so it's easily digestible, entertaining, and stuff. But get ready for this episode coming out tomorrow for you new members and everything. Big 10, Big 12. Hot stocks based on our new valuations.
And let's really quick get there so we can see what we're talking about with these things. Oh, I lost my share. I apologize. Give me 1 second. Just want to show everybody where they can find our members only video. In fact, all the videos that we have, but the members only videos in particular, the value we bring with these members only videos is top of the part. Nobody does it better. And they're extremely slick and well produced. And if you're a new member after the show or while you're watching a football game this weekend, tune in, go to the main College Football Mafia Network page, go to the membership tab, and here's all your members only videos. Also, there's other videos that you have available to all of them, but this is where you are the smartest guy at the water cooler next week, talking about something like the viewership analysis, what the media values are for private equity. Does Clemson deserve to be in the Big Ten? These are questions that are all covered in our videos, and I haven't done a head count, Moen. How many videos do we actually have? Do you know?
50 plus.
That's amazing, everybody. That's amazing. So anyways, make sure you go to the main College Football Mafia page and click that membership tab that gets you to those videos. All right, guys, let's get out of here. Ute, final words as we go into this first weekend ever of College Football Playoff 12 team.
Talking about Indiana has got me excited for Indiana. Like, first thoughts were that Notre Dame probably gets it done, but I'm going to be rooting for Indiana hard in this game. And if they have this upset tonight, I think the college football world will be very happy. I'll be very happy personally. So go Hoosiers.
Moen.
Yeah, you've got this up here from Becky. This is perfect. It's IU to win and Notre Dame hate for the Big Ten. Absolutely. All I want for Christmas is an Indiana victory and an Ohio State victory.
Okay. Not cheering for Penn State.
Okay. No, I don't think Penn State needs me to cheer for them. I think they're going to dominate.
There we go. There we go. I appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Thanks, Becky, for the $2 super chat. We really appreciate it. Everybody, we want you to have a safe and a happy holiday season. Are you going to do a show Sunday night, Moen?
We are. Myself and Rock and Rant will be doing a little rocking and ranting around the Christmas tree holiday episode of Moen After Dark. We will be talking about the outcomes of these games from tonight and tomorrow. If Ohio State loses, it might be a little explosive.
Ute, final words.
Go Hoosiers. Go Utes.
All right. I love it. Everybody, it's go Big 12. That's where we're at. Anything that helps the Big 12. The ACC losing helps the Big 12. So that's where I'm at with this thing. College football in general, though, we got to celebrate this, everybody. I watch NFL. I've got my Seahawks gear on because BYU's not playing. But I'm going to be watching college football this weekend. I'm excited for these games. Everybody watch. Get out there. Get your friends and relatives to watch. We need these numbers to be up so that they expand next year. They go to 14 or 16 teams. Explosive numbers will do that. I want to thank everybody for being here, especially Greg Pflugar, Peek Around the Corner. Right after you hang up here, go over to Greg's channel, Peek Around the Corner on YouTube, and watch his streaming as he's watching Indiana and Notre Dame live. A lot of fun. Always a good time to be there. And other than that, everybody stay safe. I will see you next Tuesday. And we'll have another edition of the Big 12 Mafia Show on the College Football Mafia Network. I believe there's a Big 10 Mafia Show on Monday as well. We're gonna.
Yeah, I have to get with Becky and Pickles and see if we're going to do that one. I don't know their holiday schedule yet. So
okay, we are making some programming changes. Just letting everybody know. We're always looking for new opportunities to expand the channel and do other things. So, anyways, thank you so much for being here. Have a safe and fun weekend with your family, friends. Don't forget to reach out to that person that pops into your head because they probably need it. and let's get over some of the doldrums of the holidays. We appreciate each one of you. Thanks to everybody with the new memberships and all the super stickers and super chats. We're very grateful. That helps us keep the lights on. You don't really know how important that is for us. And we appreciate each one of you. So for Wild Ute and Moen, this is Bomber checking out here at College Football Mafia Network. Enjoy the games this weekend. Go Hoosiers. See ya. Peace.